Boss Rush 660 Day 2. So this one's not a very easy day. You've got Taran Zhu as the first boss, which is a pretty easy boss overall, but the problem is the second boss is Majordomo Executus, and that spawns a Ragnaros Death Rattle after you artillery strike it. And even though Taran Zhu's not the toughest boss, you do need a reasonably strong comp to beat them that has some restrictions for your party slots, so you can't just load up with artillery strikes and things to kill that Ragnaros easily. So I've got a couple different comps here. We've got a Holmes Geddon comp, which is probably the most straightforward and the one that most people will have the mercs with the right level of investment to beat it. But even with this comp, and even if you leave Baron Geddon alive, that Ragnaros cleanup on the second boss can be a little bit difficult if you don't have enough stats. And this Holmes Varden comp is even more difficult if you don't have strong artillery strike mercenaries. So this comp, none of these 4 mercenaries are particularly good at assisting with the Ragnaros encounter. So you're kind of relying on your Genn and Rogers to do the Ragnaros fight if you use this one. You could leave someone else alive, but it reduces your artillery strike odds and doesn't help you all that much if you do leave like Holmes or Balinda or Varden alive. Except maybe with a few of the treasures, it would be worthwhile. Like if you get Varden, if you leave Varden alive and you get Frost Ritual, that's a win condition because you can just freeze Ragnaros every single turn with like your Genn shot. But that's not a guarantee, so you would have to then hit a treasure and an artillery strike, so very low odds for that to work. Balinda, even Stoneheart's Salvation is not a guarantee to win because Balinda gets crit by Ragnaros, and Ragnaros can roll a high fire anomaly, so that's not a great solution. And Holmes doesn't really have any great treasures, and these Divine Shields aren't really enough to guarantee a win. They could help, but they're not a guarantee, so I don't think Holmes is especially worth leaving alive. And then this other comp, the Yu'lon one, it's similar to the Holmes Geddon comp in that you would leave Yu'lon, Genn, and Rogers alive, and Yu'lon also gives you a way to deal with the taunt on turn 1 from Taran Zhu, but this comp has its own awkwardness because you're only freezing 1 enemy per turn, and then you have problems with the Starfire Blessing from Taran Zhu, and you do need a reasonably strong Band of Frost to catch up on damage after waiting on Starfire Blessing, so this one can get a bit messy as well. So I'm going to start with the Geddon comp, as I think it's the most straightforward and the one that most people would want to use here. So we've got Lesser Water Elemental, Arena Contender, Hate up front, Mark of Conflag, Vilnaean Strength, and I like to use a Swashbuckling Sash. You could use Ship's Bell, potentially, but I prefer the Swashbuckling. That's mostly for the Ragnaros cleanup after artillery striking Domo. So for this boss, with the Holmes comps, you're really hoping that Taran Zhu doesn't taunt on turn 1, but you can beat it even if he does. So we position like this. It's also bad if this gets a high attack anomaly. You really want this to just have its base 70 attack. I would normally just re-roll this with this roll. So we're not going to get a triple freeze here because this will kill our water elemental, so we can only go for a double freeze. I'm going to freeze Taran Zhu and the blue, but normally you would swing with your water elemental at the green here instead of Taran Zhu. And then I'm going to put some Fire Weakness on the blue because it has a health anomaly. And if none of them have health anomaly, I usually put the Fire Weakness on the blue. So we just shield our water elemental, and then we swing at one of these right-hand guys, and then that gets you the multi-freeze. If you had enough hit points to survive that swing there, you should be able to get the triple freeze this turn. But at least we got Taran Zhu frozen, so he can't taunt to get in our way. So we'll be fine here. Now if you do get the taunt, you'll end up with the same double freeze, but you will still have a taunt in your way on turn 2 because the taunt lasts for 2 turns. So you would not be able to freeze this turn unless you brought Holmes out again instead of Geddon. which is an option if you have enough Geddon damage. So say Taran Zhu was taunted right now, you could put Balinda in the right-hand position and bring out Bwon and Holmes in the left positions here, and then put a Divine Shield on your Water Elemental and swing with it. It'll hit into the taunt, and then that Divine Shield breaking from Holmes would freeze the green behind the taunt, so you'd have a safe triple freeze, but that wastes a turn of no Geddon Inferno. So as long as you have enough damage to get rid of the blue and the red in time, that's fine. But if your Geddon is too weak, you might just need to re-roll and get a roll with no taunt, or you can just take a risk on turn 2, and you would have a taunted Taran Zhu here, and this guy would just be shooting at you, and it would probably hit Bwonsamdi a lot of the time. In my experience, it does hit Bwonsamdi, so you can just take that risk. I didn't actually swing with my Water Elemental, I think, so you'll see like how that would go. So this is usually what happens if the taunt was in the way. And if that hits your Geddon, though, and there's a high enough Shadow Anomaly or Attack Anomaly on the green, you'll lose your Geddon there. But a lot of times, it just harmlessly shoots Bwonsamdi like that, and it's fine. So a taunt is not a guaranteed loss. So I'm just going to keep shooting here. We're going to freeze that now. Ideally, it would have been frozen on turn 1, though. And typically what happens is, due to the passive on Taran Zhu, the green sticks around because it's taking half damage from Geddon. And you get rid of the red and the blue, usually on this turn, but sometimes it can take you an extra turn, like it is for me here. So the blue has, I think it's like 500 hit points, but it's going to heal back up to the anomaly value, so I'm going to bring Geddon out again. If you killed the blue and the red here, you can already bring Holmes out in place of Geddon, because we're going to kill off Balinda, Holmes, and Bwon. But if you need the extra damage, you can bring out Geddon one more time, and then we'll bounce him back out of the way afterwards. We're just going to do damage here. You could swing with elementals for damage if you have extras laying around, and it works out for the damage to do that. Okay, so you do want to get this dead before it acts here, so this is only going to do 170, so I need to use the 2 speed from Bwon to ensure that that doesn't like wipe out all my water elementals. And we can just let this cast. It's actually good that that's casting. And I don't want to AoE with Geddon here because we don't want to kill this guy yet. That high health anomaly on the blue makes it a little more difficult. Alright, so I don't really care if he makes my things hit themselves, so I can just let that happen. I am going to shoot my own Balinda. And let's see, she would take like 180 maybe, so I'm going to shoot her with Geddon as well, but that'll be fine. He'll probably cast that on one of these elementals. Probably this one. Oh no, he did Geddon. Okay, that's fine. We don't really want to lose Geddon here, but he's safe. A lot of times this green will have more HP to play with, but we had the high blue anomaly, so it ended up being kind of low. Okay, so now I'm just going to shoot all of these guys until they're low enough to die to the death rattle from this green here. So another shot here should take... Actually, I'm going to do Holmes first. And we can put a Divine Shield on one of these water elementals. Holmes can't do anything to damage your own guys, so usually he just sits around. Okay, I don't want him to shoot my Holmes and kill it yet because I'm not ready to end this turn, so I'm going to freeze him one more time. And we're going to set up our Balinda and Bwon. So Belinda's low enough now. Bwonsamdi's low enough now, and Holmes does not take half damage anymore because the Taran Zhu is gone. So this 138 is enough to kill Holmes here. So everybody's set up to die. So now we can just go ahead and end it. And now you need an artillery strike. Because the second boss is not an easy fight at all. It has like 4-speed melee attacks with like 350 damage attackers and all kinds of terrible stuff. So out of these, this one's the best. You don't really want Wind Fury because you don't have enough hit points on Rogers against Ragnaros usually. But we will get to demonstrate the fight. So I like to position like this. We got a pretty high fire anomaly. So not the easiest Ragnaros you can face, but not the hardest either. I don't like to swing with Rogers on turn 1 usually, unless the fire anomaly is very low and the attack is low. So we're just going to fire combo and pass with Rogers. Now you ideally want all the damage to hit Genn, because he's the best at keeping himself alive. So this turn you have a choice. You can either make a summon and buff the hit points on these guys, but then you miss out on your fire combo, or you can just go for a fire combo. I'm just going to go for the fire combo. I don't want to speed up Ragnaros because this is where maybe the ship spell equipment is a viable alternative, because you could just shoot with that. But I like to save this anyway because you can use it for a heal next turn. So I'm just going to pass with Rogers again. And if we lose our Geddon here to this RNG, that's fine. It'll just be as if we were fighting the boss with just the artillery strike mercenaries, which is a viable thing to do anyway. But we've got 2 fire combos worth of damage into the Ragnaros to help us out. None of these are really worthwhile because if we swing and don't heal, we can potentially die on Rogers. This doesn't do anything beneficial for us because it'll mess up our fire combo. We don't want to transform Genn. We don't want to speed up Ragnaros. This doesn't do anything. And this, again, will potentially get our Rogers killed. So, just passing there. Okay, we did lose our Geddon. So this is why, even with strong Geddon, it's not like a guarantee here. You still need like pretty strong artillery strike mercenaries. But now we want to get Genn summon out. And if you want to be safe, you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and do that, because we don't have enough hit points on Rogers to think about swinging here. You don't get that until you've got some of these summons around. So we're just going to heal. We hope that this does not get hit by the die insects. I could swing with it. I'm going to go ahead and swing with it, because it's going to die anyway if it gets hit. Okay, the best shot there is if it hits Genn. We didn't get that, so I'm going to heal my Rogers, make a new summon, and I'm going to not swing with this one this time, I think. Let me see. And I'll swing with it. If this can just tank a hit, you might want to not swing with it, but it was only going up to 230, and this is 245, so even if that hit it, it was going to die. But you can use them to soak those hits sometimes if you don't swing with them. Okay, so we did get hit on Genn, so that's good. So we can swing with Rogers soon. So generally what you're looking for is your Rogers health plus your Genn heal enough to, so if you're using Skyguard, you don't get the Genn heal. So you would need to be able to tank whatever Ragnaros is doing plus Ragnaros' attack. So in this case, like 450-ish damage. So I could Skyguard this turn. But that would leave Rogers very low if this hits Rogers, and it probably will because it'll probably target Genn here. I could do this to get a little bit more healing and not be quite as low, or you can just be safe and cast the firing position. I'm probably going to lose this anyway, so I'm going to swing with it because I think he targets Genn every time here. Okay, you generally want a Beastly Beauty every time you can. And if you're not swinging, you usually want to heal your Rogers. Unless Genn's like super low. Okay, that's good that we soaked that there. So now, this is like 450-ish, so we can get a Rogers swing here. We could also do the For the Alliance, but Genn doesn't do all that much damage. I think I would rather ramp my attack with Rogers equipment. But you would get an extra Genn heal if you used the For the Alliance there, if you happen to hit that treasure. Okay, now we're just going to heal up on Rogers. So you can see this can still take a while with the high fire anomaly, especially if you lose your Geddon early. It's just not a very easy fight. I could do this, but I think I'm gonna not. Hopefully this hits Genn. Okay. And this one, I think we're fine to swing. Alright, and that'll take care of him. So you're going to want the strongest Genn you can get for this fight, even if you keep Geddon alive. And you're going to need 300 damage for Smolderwing, so either 300 damage artillery strike with Rogers, or you can get by with 150 if you hit it on Genn. There are other sets of mercenaries that could make that Ragnaros cleanup easier. You could try to bring Nimsy and get a can't touch this treasure. As I was saying earlier in the comp rundown, you could try to hit Varden's freeze treasure, the Frost Ritual, and just freeze him every turn. You could try to bring 2 mercenaries that aren't artillery strike, but then it's really hard to hit artillery strike. If you do that, then like Medivh plus anyone with a repeatable freeze is a guaranteed win, because you can put him behind a counter rune and then summon like Jaina water elementals or use Varden's Ice Lance to freeze. But all of those are awkward in their own way. So this next comp with Yu'lon, it's not super reliable, so I'm not super sold on this comp in general, but I did get it to work a couple times, so I'll go ahead and go over it here. Got Lesser Water Elemental, Arena Contender, Jadefire Spear, Band of Frost, Gilnean Strength, and I'm using the Swashbuckling Sash again. So the Band of Frost needs to be reasonably strong with this, probably like rank 25-ish, or ideally higher, because this comp gets a little bit awkward with having to skip turns of damage early if there's a high arcane anomaly, because you can't really stop Taran Zhu from casting Starfire Blessing on turn 2. But in this case, I didn't even get an arcane anomaly, so I can just go crazy with this comp. So this will sort of be like a high roll. Actually, this having attack is bad, because this is where you usually swing with your water elementals to get extra Band of Frost activations. And we're gonna... Actually, I think we survive with our water elemental on turn 1 because my water elemental and Yu'lon are big enough. But generally, I like to put Frost Weakness here and freeze the blue. And then you block Taunt, so you don't care if there's a Taunt on turn 1. And if he uses a Mind Blast, it usually just shoots at Bwonsamdi. You don't really care about that. So turn 2, the Taunt block from Yu'lon, I'll show you in a second. It does work from the bench, so we're just going to bring out this team. But the Jade Flame Buffet, it's still active as an aura on the board, even though Yu'lon is on the bench here. So you see there it says buffeting, blocking taunt, and stealth for 2 turns. even though that buff is on Yulon, it's still active. So if there's a taunt on turn 1 like we had here, this would normally be taunted, but it's still getting blocked here. So now we can double freeze. So I'm going to freeze here and here. And a lot of times you'll get a Starfire Blessing on turn 2. If you do, and you do damage with Varden, it will it'll activate the Starfire Blessing and shoot at you. So you might need to pass with Varden on this turn if you get unlucky. You might also need to just shoot a Frost or Flame Dart at one of these other guys instead of AoEing with Balinda. If you really need to avoid those. Or you can just roll the dice and hope that the Starfire Blessing hits Bwonsamdi or doesn't kill you. Also, if the Starfire shots shoot into Varden, because of the passive on Taran Zhu, making them take half damage, Varden will take half damage from those shots. So it's not the worst if you do activations here. The Cold Snap gives you the fewest Starfire activations if you have to worry about that. Flurry, it's random. So you might hit the side guys and take no damage, or you might hit Taran Zhu 3 times and take 3 Starfire Blessings. It's up to you which one you want to cast there. I'm going to cast Flurry here because I'm going to hit 3 targets either way, and I don't get a Cold Snap off, and I might be able to get a Cold Snap off next turn and get even more Frost Ramp. So I'm going to do a Flurry here. But you've got a few decisions to make on this turn usually, and it just depends on the RNG. And keep in mind with your bounces, you're going to heal them back up to their anomaly value. So we want all 3 of these mercenaries that are in play right now to die by the end of the fight. So you can usually either accomplish that with the green Death Rattle, or you can shoot your own guys with Balinda and Bwonsamdi to make that happen. But first we're going to try to take care of the blue and the red. So let's see how we want to do that. This is going to do 360 right now. And there is a frost weakness on that. So that's another 6. So that's perfect. I'm just going to shoot that and then do a cold snap. And we'll do go ahead and do another bounce. Excuse me, another bounce. I'm going to get some free frost ramp on that one because it's got the lowest attack. And then I could swing with this for ramp, but I'm just going to get the ramp. I don't think I need the extra water elemental to hang around, so I'm just going to take the damage now. But it's up to you. You have more than enough damage by this point typically, so you should be able to just hold onto that water elemental for extra freezes while you're doing your cleanup. You can even think about shooting your own Balinda before you ramp so much that it one-shots. So like for example on this turn, I could shoot here to put Balinda to 40 HP so that this Death Rattle will kill Balinda. I might do that. And so that we don't have the randomness, I think I'm going to shoot an Ice Lance there, which is going to do like 700 right now. You could do this, so if this triple shot the green, that would be fine. It takes half damage as well. So maybe we just do the flurry. Let me get some ramp here. I'm going to do it on the red because it won't give me an extra thing anyway. I'm gonna do the frost ramp and we'll shoot Balinda later. I just don't want this high health Taran Zhu to cause problems for me later. And he does some annoying stuff with that like target swap thing and the taunt and everything, Starfire Blessing. So this will do half damage to Taran Zhu. This will do half damage to him. So this would kill Taran Zhu and freeze this guy. That's pretty good. And then I can bounce. And then I guess I'm going to weaken Balinda. I could kill Balinda here, but I want Balinda to be able to kill Varden as well. So I'm going to go with this. Alright, so now we want to just get this guy low enough that we can finish him. Get these guys low enough that they die to the death rattle. So, don't really want to use frost darts. I could ramp fire. I definitely don't want to shoot with Varden this turn. I'm just going to shoot with fire. And right now this does 252 to Varden, so we do need a little bit of damage on Varden, but we can do that next turn. Okay, I could let that go off. I'm just going to freeze it though. Actually, I'm going to freeze with this. Save that. So we're just trying to get these guys down to 126 and Varden down to 252. This was a little bit not enough. Okay, now I'm going to freeze with that, and we're going to shoot Varden. So now we should be all set up. And the Taran Zhu is gone, so we don't have to worry about like taking half damage, but these are all colors that would be fine anyway. Okay, so now we just got to kill, so we can do our crazy frost damage. And then we're going to be ending with Yu'lon, Rogers, and Genn. Now you could keep Varden alive for the possibility of that Frost Ritual treasure being a win condition. But then you would, you know, have Varden instead of Yu'lon, and we missed our artillery strike anyway, so this one's a loss. I'm going to go ahead and show the third comp, but the fight goes very similar to the Geddon comp. You just have Yu'lon spamming Jade Flame Buffet with Jade Fire Spear to help out your Genn and Rogers, which lets you swing more often with Rogers. So it's a very similar cleanup for that fight. The difficult part with that comp is actually the first fight. Usually the RNG from Starfire Blessing and having enough damage to do the cleanup and stuff, it can be a bit awkward. But let me go over this Holmes Balinda comp here. So we've got Lesser Water Elemental, Arena Contender, 8 up front, Band of Frost, Ilnan Strength, and Swashbuckling Sash. So this one is very similar to the Geddon comp. You have the same opener with the triple freeze, and the cleanup is a bit easier to do with this comp, but the problem is that none of the mercenaries are great at helping you kill Ragnaros unless you hit a treasure with Varden, a specific treasure. I guess the Battle Cry one is okay on Varden as well, because that'll give you 1 extra freeze, and then maybe you live to do like an Ice Lance so you could get 2 freezes off, and maybe this Ragnaros doesn't shoot Varden too much. Alright, so we got unlucky again. My luck is just not with me today. And we have a very high attack anomaly here, and some shadow anomaly, so this guy is a problem. So this might be a reroll, which this can happen to the Geddon comp as well. So we're just going to do the same thing that we normally do, though. Doing a elementary on our water elemental and swinging, getting at least the double freeze, but we should have had a triple here. So next turn, if I bring out Varden, that green guy can shoot Varden and kill Varden. If I don't, though, I miss out on Varden ramp. So then you need a stronger Varden to get through this. But I'm going to try it with the Holmes to guarantee this green doesn't murder me. But you could take the risk. So what you would do instead is bring out Varden in place of Holmes, and then you would just hope that this shoots Bwonsamdi. Which does happen, but at least we can guarantee it this way. So you position Balinda on the far right, and at least we get to ramp with Balinda still. And then this will make, when that Divine Shield breaks, it will smack this green here before it gets to act. So that's how you can play around the turn 1 taunt when you don't have Yu'lon. And now for the rest of the fight, we're going to use these 3. At least until we're ready to do the cleanup. So your choices at the end are leave Varden and your artillery strikes alive, or leave Holmes and your artillery strikes alive, or go with just your artillery strikes. I'm going to try to go with just my artillery strikes. So I want to kill off all of these and Holmes by the end, but you do have options if you want to take the lower artillery strike odds. Now, since we have no attack anomaly here, I just like to swing with this for free ramp on Varden. We're going to be bouncing, so they'll be frozen again next turn, so I can just use Cold Snap for damage. And I haven't really ramped enough yet, so I'm just going to shoot a Flame Dart here. I could give Frost Weakness to Taran Zhu since he has a health anomaly. Actually, do I want to Cold Snap this turn? Because this one's going to be low next turn, and then I can probably get extra free freeze scaling if I wait until next turn, or I could just do it like the following turn. I'm gonna do this, and then we'll snap next turn. And that'll give me, kind of make up some of that scaling that I lost. So this is going to do like 300. Well, 380. Or maybe a bit more. Yeah, that should be fine. You could do a flurry there, you could do a Cold Snap there. Got lots of different options. I'm not too worried about getting the triple hit when my frost scaling is so low, because we were only hitting for like 100 with Varden, or 140. So it's not that much lost damage to guarantee some extra scaling this turn. So now I'm going to get the Cold Snap, and we want to kill Taran Zhu here. I'm going to take some free ramp there. Okay, so you could flurry, but this would take half damage if it does get hit. So this is only like 115-ish per shot. So it wouldn't kill that even if I triple hit it. Unless if I freeze with the water elemental, then it could. So let's do this and bounce, and I'm going to not act with Varden, and we're just going to put some damage here. It's going to heal back to 706, so anything of that's wasted damage, but this should be fine. This is going to take half damage from Balinda anyway. We are behind on our ramp because of that opener making us lose a turn. The taunt. Okay, so I have to keep in mind how much hit points are left there. So this does a lot of damage. I could also kill somebody off this turn. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to kill off Bwonsamdi and do a binding contract, and then I'll just do this. I'll do a cold snap. That'll be fine, because this will take half damage from the cold snap. And we should be, because this thing has such high attack, I will be ready to end the fight right away. Okay, so as soon as this dies, I take 473 on everything, so we're just good to go. Because I want all these guys dead. Again, you could keep somebody alive if you wanted. You could even use like an elementary shield. So say I want to keep Varden alive, there, Varden's alive. But I'm just going to go with this. And Holmes does take full damage because Taran Zhu's dead, so there's no more half damage passive. No artillery strike. Out of these, this one's the best. We missed, so that's a loss. We've already seen how that fight goes, basically, anyway, because I just started with Geddon on top of having those two alive, so it's basically the same. You just don't get a bunch of extra damage at the start of the fight with Geddon. But yeah, those are the three comps. I don't really like any of these comps for this day too much. This one, the Geddon Holmes one, is probably the most reliable. There are some other options, so I'll try this one again, the Yulan one, and I'll possibly show how messy it can be depending on what anomalies I get, because I had an easy one with the Arcane the last time not being present. So 155, this is a more normal Arcane roll. We do have a high health anomaly on both of these, but no attack anomaly, so that's good. Okay, so let me put some Frost Weakness. I could put it on him since he's got a health anomaly. I guess I'll do that. And you almost always freeze the blue. I think you do always freeze the blue. But we'll have an easier time keeping our water elementals alive this time with the no attack. So let's go with Balinda Varden. Okay, so we are getting the Starfire Blessing. So you could freeze this turn, but you have to take a random Starfire Blessing. So this one's going to do 334 damage to a green. So my Balinda would survive it. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze him this turn. But we're going to not AoE because I don't want to have to deal with that. So let's see. You want to freeze the green first so that you don't lose your other water elemental to the activation of the Starfire Blessing. You could also wait till next turn and freeze with an Ice Lance. Actually, I think that's better. I think it's just better to do it that way. You have to pass with Varden this turn. And not AoE. But this is where it is a bit awkward. That Starfire Blessing just gets in your way. You can take the risk of it hitting your stuff. Most of the time it'll be fine because it'll potentially hit a water elemental or take half damage on Varden or just harmlessly hit your Bwon. But we have low attack this time, so this is how I normally approach the fight, is use an Ice Lance to freeze, and then because you get all these freebie hits with your water elementals... okay, so he's going to swap. He's going to swap with the blue. So, we saw on the other... or I guess we didn't see, because I didn't record that one, but the... even when this Shah had really high health, and the green didn't, he still swapped with the blue for me. So I think he just always uses Among the Stars on the blue. So I'm just going to shoot the Ice Lance with the assumption that he's going to swap with the blue. But I think that's what always happens. And in that case, we want to swing on Taran Zhu, because we want that to hit the blue. So we're freezing Taran Zhu by shooting the Shah, and then we're hitting the blue by swinging into Taran Zhu. And we're going to bounce again, so I want to get rid of this additional water elemental. I'm just going to let it hit the Shah as well. And we don't want to AoE because, again, we've got the Starfire Vortex buff here from Starfire Blessing. So I'm just going to do some damage to... do some damage to whatever he swaps with. Getting a bunch of Frost Ramp here. Okay, so we're just doing Balinda, Varden, and Bwon still. And I'm going to try to kill off all of this front line again and just end with Yu'lon. Like I mentioned earlier, you can try to end with Varden to try to hit that Frost Ritual or maybe the Battle Cry freeze. But I think it's better to try to end with Yu'lon's comp. Okay, so now the Starfire is gone, so we're free to damage. This will give me a Cold Snap, so that's more ramp. It's going to shoot at Taran Zhu. Some damage to Taran. Okay, so we just got to swap, so whatever we want to shoot at Taran Zhu, we shoot at the green instead. I'm going to go ahead and bounce, so we'll freeze the green. And I guess I'll get some ramp with one of these extra water elementals too, so it doesn't really matter which one we target where. And that should be fine, because it'll do half damage if it hits the green, so we won't kill the green prematurely. Nice, okay. It would have been fine if he survived there, though. The cleanup's pretty easy with this much Frost Ramp. Okay, so now we just want to get all these low enough to die to the Death Rattle. And then finish him off. But that would one-shot my Balinda, so we don't want to do that. I'm just going to use the fire stuff. And we'll Ice Lance to freeze this if we need to. Okay, so Bwon's ready. We need a bit more damage on Varden and Balinda. So that'll do 264 and 132, so we're ready to go now. And that is more than enough damage right there. On artillery strike. Oh, nice. Okay, so I can actually demonstrate the fight now. Both of these are pretty good. I like to take this one because Rogers benefits from the attack, and Genn usually doesn't have any trouble surviving. There's also no melee attacks, so Spiked Shield's not useful here. So I just like to take that out of those three. Right, so this positioning should be fine with Yu'lon on the left and Genn in the middle. And we got 136 fire. So this is a pretty low one. This one should be quite easy. I usually wait with Rogers to start with. She doesn't have enough hit points to guarantee survival. Okay, so you can heal with even speeds if you need to. Or you can keep spamming Jade Flame. So this would give me 181, which is enough. Or this would give me more healing. So this one buffs everybody, this one is for self-healing, or you could do this one for self-healing. Depending on if you need the speed. So here, if we wanted to self-heal, we would use Enveloping Mist, because this is going to act too early and it would kill Yu'lon. I'm just going to Jade Flame, though. And I think Varden has enough points now. We can go ahead and get our first swing, because this Beastly Beauty gives a bunch on top of it. Okay, that's unfortunate. So Yu'lon can die this turn. So if you were being safe, you could have Enveloping Misted last turn. I guess I'll go ahead and Enveloping Mist now. Yu'lon's gonna die anyway if they get hit, so... this one will not survive a hit, so I'm gonna swing with it. Oh, actually, I could heal with this. So let's see, this would do 130, 172, 192. Okay, so that is enough. I guess I'll do that. Just be safe with my Yu'lon. I'm still going to swing with this, though, because it'll survive the swing and it would still die to die insects either way. I could have used the 10 speed as well since I sped it up with Rogers. Man, he is just hating on Yu'lon. Alright, well, I'm just going to shoot with Yu'lon and put more targets in play. I'm going to not swing with this because it could soak the die insects now. We are going to swing with Rogers. Man. Alright, well, Yu'lon's just not lucky. So this isn't a great representation of how Yu'lon usually helps with this fight, but obviously if you had a bigger Jadefire Spear, or if you played it more cautiously than I did on that second turn, you could have kept Yu'lon alive, but we're going to be fine here anyway. I still have plenty of hit points on Roger, so I'm just going to keep swinging. We're going to let this sit just to soak the meteor damage. That's probably going to target Rogers, or I should probably target the middle. Okay, so we're just going to summon whenever we can, and now Rogers is hurt a bit, so I'm going to heal. Alright, I'm going to swing with this time, and I'm going to heal again. It'd be nice if our Genn would ever take damage. Okay, unlucky, and okay, that was better. Right, we can get a swing here. Alright, and that will take care of the fight. So as you can see, Yu'lon, similar to Geddon, can help, but does not guarantee it unless you have a strong enough Genn. So not ideal. But none of the solutions to this day are ideal. And once again, 300 hit points on Smolderwing, so if you're using Rogers, you do need a pretty high artillery strike to guarantee that one as well. If you don't meet all the requirements for the artillery strikes for these various comps, or even like the damage requirements for the first fight, then I might just recommend Celestials as your solution for this day, because Celestials should be able to handle all of these remaining fights reasonably well. I think there's not any like crazy ramp that gets out of control or anything. Smolderwing can be difficult for Celestials though, but at least it's the third fight where you have time to find multiple Celestial protections. The second fight can hit really hard too though, because Baron Geddon has like 353 base attack, and has 4-speed attacks, and can use that on turn 1. So you can take some pretty hefty hits very early. So yeah, 660 day 2, not an easy day, but there are a few solutions. If you can't do any of those, just setting this down to 110 or 120 and just running it for your 150 first win bonus, and then going back to farming on day 1 or waiting for a better day might be your best option. So good luck on your run.